You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun.
All right, everybody, we're back. Friday's finest. Yes, it is Friday, and it's August, and we're football was back. We had football last night. We're taping this on early Friday morning, so we had the Hall of Fame game last night. The new kickoff rules, everything's going around. The world is in a turmoil, and we're here for Friday's finest. So that's the way it's got to be. Chip's here, James is here, the whole crew's here. We got a lot to discuss today after the break. We're going to get into some politics, which we could spend literally probably 5 or 6 hours on. We're not going to spend that long because we're going to get onto the real world stuff like the All-American Clark Kent hero from our gymnastics team. The turkey, as I saw a print in one of his social medias that says, Turkey sent a contract killer to the Olympics, and it does appear that he did if you watch him shoot. This is just an amazing week of looking at. And also the Olympics trying to actually, between letting men beat women in the Olympics, they also have decided to seemingly to off the entire triathlete community by making them swim in the sewer. Hey, I can't make this stuff up, but it is France. It's Friday. We're here right after the break. We'll be back to discuss. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of the box stores or the shopping channels as the way they used to. They've been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one product company. With the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products. Some of you may not even know about that. So to get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out the $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-pillow use MyPillows are just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. There's 6-pack of towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels. You guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. All orders over $75 will see free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long, so go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Collins, that's COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 today. That's promo code Collins. Hey, inflation's at a 40-year high. The stock market looks more uncertain than ever. The new central bank digital currency is on its way and could be the government's ultimate surveillance tool against Americans. It looks like the government is playing games with your savings and retirement. So what are you going to do to help protect yourself? Did you know that you can have physical gold and silver into your IRA or 401k with zero tax or penalties? Millions of Americans are doing this right now for protection, and you should think about it too. A company I trust and recommend is Preserve Gold. They will go all over your options and make sure the process of acquiring precious metals is simple and easy. So if you're looking to help protect your retirement with a trustworthy company, request your free investment guide from the experts at Preserve Gold. Preserve Gold is accredited by the Better Business Bureau, and they have hundreds of 5-star reviews, so you know that you're in good hands. Just text Collins, COLLINS, to 50505. And an exclusive offer for my listeners, they'll get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying purchase on a retirement account rollover. So don't wait. Text Collins to 50505 today and get your free gold and silver investment guide and take the first step. Again, text Collins to 50505 to get your free guide from the good people at Preserve Gold. All right, Chip, we're back. Good Lord, what's been going on in the world in the last few weeks?
Where do we start? I know it's Friday's finest and we got a lot to talk about non-political, but how about these final 90 days in the presidential campaign? If they look like anything other than the previous 90 days, wow, we're in for a bumpy ride. If we were on an airplane, the captain would come over the intercom and say, ladies and gentlemen, get your seatbelts on.
Yeah, there's turbulence ahead. Well, it is. And it's really interesting right now, Chip, and we've talked about this. and I've said this before, and you and I have talked offline, the press and Obama and the elites, especially when the Senate and the House started seeing the numbers tanking for them after the debate, they knew that they had to make a change. So the coup was in effect. I mean, they had to. If I will say this, though, if it ever becomes actual fact that, and this would be, now you want a true Pulitzer moment here. If it becomes fact that the reports are that Obama actually told Biden it's going to be one way or the other, we got Kamala Harris on board for the 25th Amendment, and they threatened him like that. That's, I mean, that is so close to being illegal, if not illegal. Extortion, blackmail, however you want to take that. But again, we'll probably never know because the press will bury it so much. But it has, at least surfaced. The press has given almost a free ride to Harris because they had to build her up because they tore the other one down.
Well, my biggest concern, Doug, is that their nominee did not have to go through any type of process to become the nominee. I mean, we knew when that debate happened in Atlanta, it was probably just a matter of time until the Democrats needed to replace Joe Biden. Or the reality is that until Joe Biden came to the realization himself that it just wasn't there. And, that's my concern in the last 90 days is that certainly the media is complicit in all this. Not only are they not going to ask her the tough questions, but they're not going to dig and probe like they need to. I mean, they've completely given her a pass for, being the border czar, and, they're complicit in the comment. Well, she wasn't the border czar. She was looking into root causes of immigration. I mean, come on. I mean, if they want to make that argument to the American people, they can all day long, but they're not going to win it. And Doug, that's my biggest concern, going through the last 9 days is that, is that she won't be held to that standard that most nominees are held to, number one. But number two, I still think Kamala Harris is not as well. I don't know. I'm trying to think about the way to say it. I mean, one of the biggest criticisms she had when she took this is, can she be a serious candidate? Because how many clips are out there of her giggling and cackling when she gets nervous, when she doesn't know the answer to questions? And, now, because she's vice president and because Joe Biden is declined so much mentally, she's able to put herself, or they're able to put her in situations that make her look presidential, very presidential. Yeah. And I didn't think they'd be able to do that easily and that quickly. And so, all of that concerns me moving forward. I also know the Dems are going to get a bump from their convention, which all parties do. And we've already had ours. It's in the rearview mirror. They're about to get a bump from theirs. It does look like she's probably going to pick make a pretty good decision with their VP pick. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. By the time we do Friday's Finest next week, we should know, who that person is. I think it's going to be Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. But, I mean, if you're a Republican, things to be concerned about. But look, this was always going to be a close election. Yeah. A year ago, we knew it. It looked really good for us and Donald Trump, a few months ago. But, things can never really are, objects in the mirror are always closer than they seem, and is what, they write. And so, look, we're in a dogfight. We're in a close election, and we're going to fight for every vote. But, we knew that a year ago. So let's go strap on our chin strap and go get it done.
I think that's it. I think, look, you and I both have been talking about this, and I think we both said it in different ways. I always said this was going to be decided in October, and it was going to be decided between, Trump or Biden, and it was going to be made in that last decision. I still think it's going to be in October, and I think this is going to be the I told the group last night. I said, really, we just went back, and I've talked to pollsters, you've talked to pollsters, and what they're seeing is, national pollsters in particular, they're seeing the race tighten, but they're not seeing it in what is coordinated with the national media's perception of the momentum. It's gotten back to the pre-debate stage with Biden and Trump, where Biden was up a little bit, Trump was up a little bit, went back and forth, the 2 or 3 point range. But if you were to listen to the media, it's a 8 to 10 point swing, and that's just not true when you're looking at numbers. But they're getting almost a month, like you said, of a convention, not just a week. They're getting a month. Biden quits. Then Harris works to get the nomination. She gets the nomination. Now she's got a week for her vice president. Then she goes into a week of vetting him. And then you go into the actual convention, and it is. But here's her problem. I truly believe this. This is Kamala Harris's biggest problem. She cannot function, as you said earlier, in a rational leadership way when she's off teleprompter. This was from last night. This was on the tarmac down at Andrews with the hostages coming back in. She's asked a question standing next to Joe Biden, and you've got to hear this answer.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
Okay. Right there, we just have to say, she can't function outside of a teleprompter. She on a teleprompter now, she can do better on a teleprompter than Joe Biden. She doesn't fight with it as bad. She still has her cackling moments and others. But that answer right there is what you get when she's asked a question off the cuff. And it's also interesting, don't you think, that since she has been consolidated, and we'll just say it's been that way since Joe Biden quit, do you know she's not sat down for an interview in the entire 2 weeks?
I don't know that she will, Doug. I mean, that you just kind of hit the nail on the head with respect to the concern that Republicans should have, which is, if she were to have become the nominee in the traditional way that people become nominees, she would have started her presidential campaign 18 to 24 months ago, and would have had to have given interviews ad nauseum. I mean, she essentially became the nominee with 110 days left in the campaign. I'm not so sure we're going to have many instances of her being off prompter. That's the concern. And I guess we'll have it in the debate, and I think there will be a debate, probably two. But I don't know beyond that, you're a political operative, a former elected official. I'm a political operative. I'm not a former elected official, but if I'm not giving advice to the Kamala Harris campaign, but if I was giving advice to them, I don't know that I would sit down for an interview, because I don't know that she has to. You only do that if you feel like you have to. And with a compressed time frame, I think she gets past. She probably does an interview at the convention, but they're going to be very selective at who they choose to interview her. Things like that. But I mean, it's certainly a weird deal, man. It's certainly not anything we've dealt with historically, and it's a tough call for the Trump campaign too. I mean, how do they handle it? They spent, they've spent 3.5 years preparing for a stretch run against Joe Biden, and now all of a sudden the cards have changed, and it's almost like if you play poker, it's almost like it's almost like changing the flop cards right before they turn the river card over, and that's kind of what's happening here.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think I think the Trump campaign team expected. I mean, they were looking at it. They were seeing this sort of writing on the wall, and especially after. But I think it's hard to make a transition. It's hard to turn a messaging ship. But the good part about it here, though, Chip, is too, and I think, and I'm going to assume it, is if we continue the message that was winning against Biden, it can win against Harris. You just have to continue to force the issue back to the American people and somebody brought this up the other day to me, and I hadn't thought about it in this term, that this is that Harris will in some ways have the Al Gore problem. Al Gore ran in 2000 wanting to be his own man, but yet he had 8 years of being the second fiddle in a Clinton administration. He had all of the baggage of the Clintons. And in some ways, you've got a lot of that here. Biden, in some ways, had to deal with that with the Obama time, but there was a 4-year gap, so it wasn't immediate. There is no immediate, gap here. It's an immediate. You've been the last over 3.5 years. You've been the vice president. You have claimed every victory that Biden claims, and it's border economy. And today we just had the number came out. The inflation, the jobless rate went up this morning to 4.3%, and new job creation went down. That could be credited to the tightening credit market or however you want to look at it. But there's issues with the economy that they can't get around. If we focus on that, Chip, I think Republicans will do what we need to do, and I think these leads will hold with immigration, economy, and also coming back to the simple fact that she lied about her interactions with Joe Biden. And I think somehow that's got to be worked into this process. She knew how bad Joe Biden was getting, and she just kept it, them and the press kept it away from everybody. And it really brings a credibility issue of what is the transparency factor of Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and look, presidential elections by their nature are very different than traditional political campaigns, even those for U.S. Senate and governor, because, there's two types of media in any campaign, no matter what you're running for. There's paid media and there's earned media. There's media that you pay for, and there's media that that you get through traditional press and even non-traditional sources of press that you don't pay for. But, the paid media side of what the Trump campaign is doing right now is exactly that, Doug. I think their TV ads are spot on from a messaging perspective. But how much of a presidential campaign is paid and how much is earned? It's probably the only race in the country, other than maybe a governor's race or a targeted race for U.S. Senate in the last 30 days, in which you're going to have more earned opportunities than paid opportunities. And so, look, before Trump, the media at least pretended to be impartial, even though they weren't. And now they don't even pretend anymore. And right. So, it's just going to be hard. And I can already see a little bit of the frustration with some of the Trump campaign folks that none of what you talked about is kind of penetrating as far as what they're talking about. It seems like the media wants to talk about the National Association of Black Journalists and J.D. Vance talking about, childless cat ladies more than they do, more than they want to talk about the record of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done over the last 4 years. And the reality is, that's the office that they're running for. That's what presidents get to do. And so, I'm very intrigued to see who she picks as vice president. As I've said before, I think it's more important for her than it is any other nominee, because she didn't come the traditional way. And so I think it also gives us a glimpse on what they're thinking strategy perspective. And as I said, and it also, if she picks Josh Shapiro, which I think would be good for her politically, how does that work for the Hamas wing of the Democratic Party? They're probably not going to like that. She's been very critical of Benjamin Netanyahu, but her husband's Jewish, and at that point in time, her vice president will be Jewish. So crazy times.
Yeah, well, it is. I think you're also. I agree with you here on this Friday morning. I think Shapiro probably is in the lead because of Pennsylvania, probably geography more than anything else. But you're right. There's also been reports even this morning when looking more and more like is Shapiro. You're seeing the pro-Hamas wing, and that party is revolting. You're seeing money, word about money being kept out. But also, there's some other, old history with sexual harassment claims and stuff that are now popping up. Again, we're in such a accelerated vetting process here. It's not sure what you get. And unfortunately, we're seeing this in a lot of candidates. I want to switch gears before we get on to some fun stuff with James. You and I think both would agree that the day before the debate, and even a few days after the debate, the Senate was probably at a 70% flip. It was going to flip Republican, and it may have been by one vote, but it was at least one vote was probably going to flip, because we're already at it. Basically, if they stop today, it's 50-50 because of Manchin, and Justice will win West Virginia. So we're at a 50-50 slot. The House, there was a considerable amount, and still is, of concern on the Republican side of the House flipping to the Democrats because of the small margins. Have you seen anything that would change that discussion in the last few weeks, or is that still to be determined?
Yeah, I mean, maybe on the margins, Doug, but I still think that's to be determined. I mean, there's we're as polarized as we've ever been, and I'm not breaking news with that. Everybody knows that. And so, even when Joe Biden was politically speaking, dead man walking after the debate, I mean, the polls had him down to Trump, but he was pointing to the fact that a lot of them were still within the margin of error, which they were. Look, at the end of the day, I don't want to say I'm not so sure it matters. But in all honesty, though, they could run Donald Duck against, or Mickey Mouse against Donald Trump, and Trump's going to have a ceiling, and the Dems are going to have a floor, and the ceiling and the floor in this race, they're as close to each other as any presidential race that I've seen in my lifetime, and I think that is largely going to be contingent upon how a lot of these U.S. Senate races and House races break. I just think we won't we won't really have a good handle on that until we're probably 2 weeks out from the Democratic convention, because they'll get their bump, and their bump will last 7 to 10 to 14 days. And then, by the time, and it's a late convention, right? It's late August. So by the time we get to, September, mid-September, mid to late September, I think we can answer that question a lot better than we can today.
A follow-up to that, and a quick follow-up would be, is this a year with the ticket, not, I won't say instability, it is instability on the Democrat side, not instability on the Republican side, but the ticket and the polarization that we see at the top of the ticket on both sides. Is this a year in which the seats in Ohio, Montana, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, these seats could show a divergence from the top of the ticket? In other words, like what we saw with Shapiro, a couple of years ago in Pennsylvania, he was 16 points better than Biden. We're seeing polling in Montana where Tester is polling far beyond Biden and even Harris in Montana, and it's almost a dead heat Senate race out there. Or is this just goes back to the Sherrod Brown in Ohio? Does this go back to the fact that elected incumbents have an inherent advantage that could offset a presidential top?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, it's a little bit of both, but those two states that you had mentioned, Pennsylvania and Montana, and even the third state that you mentioned, Arizona. I mean, there are certainly what happens at the national level always trickles down to what happens at the state level. But there are certain speed bumps at the state level that are larger in some states than others. In some states, the speed bump is pretty small, and you barely know you're going over it when you're in your car. Montana and Pennsylvania are the exceptions. The speed bump, you need four-wheel drive to get over, right? And so, look, that being said, if you're John Tester, I don't think you feel great right now. I mean, compared to, where maybe you did in other, races, because Kamala Harris is going to get destroyed in Montana. And I also don't know the inverse is true. I think Trump wins Arizona, but I'm not so sure Kerry Lake benefits a lot from that.
Yeah.
So a little bit of both.
Okay. Legit. Last question on this, and we'll bring James in. But because like I said, we could do this a lot, and we're going to get into. You and I think, are going to have one episode where we just break down races. I try to do that about every 3 or 4 months, and we'll just break down Senate and House races across the country on just where we see it at the moment. But that brings up the real question of I think you saw that speed bump that you talked about in an interesting way in Georgia last cycle. You saw it in the Warnock Walker race, and you saw it in the governor and every other constitutional officer in Georgia. Take away that Senate race, Georgia is back to complete norm in its polling and its election. That Senate race was just an anomaly at the top of the ticket, and nobody's questioned it as far as it being legitimate or anything else. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And candidates matter, right? Candidates matter in Montana, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, the same way. And that's where we're unique. I mean, all of our constitutional officers statewide are Republican, but both of our U.S. senators are Democrat. I mean, make sense about it. It doesn't make any sense. But I will say this: we have to win. Georgia has to deliver for Donald. Can you imagine if we lose this state by 8,000 or 9,000 votes, and that's the state that cost Donald Trump the election? It would be miserable, Doug. So, I do think Donald Trump wins Georgia this time. But yeah, look, it'll be close. It was out of 50 states, we produced the smallest margin, and I hope that's not the case this time. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, as we go, I mean, there's a lot to still unpack. We'll get some more to this. Bringing in the crowd favorite, the man from New Jersey, who's now the wanderer across the country. He is, yes, if you see him, buy the man a Starbucks or buy him whatever he wants. He's out there on his own. It is James. He's back. Montana, last day of Montana. Last day.
Yeah, I'm heading out as soon as we're done with this. You guys spoke about the Montana race, and I talked to Chip about this a few weeks ago. I don't know how much money John Tester has. I'm assuming it's in the billions because he's getting ads during the Olympics on my thing. Because obviously you get local wherever you are, and I'm in Montana. The Shady Sheehy ads are my favorite thing on the planet. It is. They're like, he's an outsider. What is it? He charges people to shoot on his ranch. And I'm like, yeah, probably. I would do that too. But it's very funny, man. It is. I'm not kidding. I don't think there was like two commercials against John Tester, and then about 400 every time I'm on YouTube against Shady Sheehy. I don't even know who he is, and I don't care. It's just the best race. I love local ads because they're so bad. Because they had one where they were pretending that the people were sportscasters saying all the stats of Sheehy's horrible stuff. I'm not even. There's so much production value.
Well, and there's what makes Montana unique too is not only is it one of the most contested and important U.S. Senate races in the country, it's also the Senate race with hands down the cheapest media market.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
really?
You're not running ads in Philly and Atlanta and Dallas. You're running ads
right here.
You're running ads in big markets in the state, but they're cheap markets. And so, yeah, look, I mean, both those candidates went up on TV months ago, and they won't go down, and that's unique as well.
Oh, it's so funny. So, I am headed out today, though. I got my big jug of water. I got coffee. I got energy drinks. I got Ramblin' Man by Waylon Jennings ready to go when we hit the car. So yeah, we're off to Seattle, boys.
Have they given you a go away party in the city of beauty? Have you gotten the keys to the city yet?
Yeah, they give you the keys. I mean, what's it like down the street at the Starbucks? Did they cry this morning? Did they?
There is someone that I pretty much got to know almost every morning because I went there so often. And I wanted to go by on the way home and be like, I'll see you never again. But no, I've gotten to know some pretty cool people around here.
What was her name, James?
What was that?
What was her name?
I don't think that's important because I don't remember it. She knows mine because it's on the bill, but I don't know hers. I forgot a lot of names while I was down here. We had that Montana Butte. They had the music festival up here, and this is not a judgment on the people of Butte. They are wonderful people. I love them. I would live here. That's how much I love these people. But they're larger than the average person, like 6'7", 6'5" at minimum. I'm 6'1", and I'm pretty big. I feel like a child in front of some of these people. There was a woman, 6'6", 240, just an absolute, like she got cut from the rugby team is the only way to describe it. And I was dancing with her at the festival, and I was like, I think I'm in love with this giant, tall woman. And I couldn't get over it. Now, luckily, I sobered up and I went home, but
yeah. Well, then she caught a plane to Paris and went to box, right?
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, that's exactly the size. Maybe bigger. No, she's definitely bigger. The person in the coward that was in the ring was a. I have a question. This is not because I don't want to jump to conclusions yet. Is she he or she a man? I genuinely don't know. There's like a million different reports.
I don't get this, and Chips, and I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to make a headline here or anything else, but the report is she was born with male chromosomes, that her testosterone level is, she can't participate, or he can't participate in International Boxing Commission stuff. They banned that one and the
so
other.
Then I don't understand. Then that should be it. I know the Olympics is a different. And here's the other thing, and this is this is not something we want to get into for Fun Day, but the woman, did you see the what she said afterward, where she was like, "I've never been hit that hard in my life."
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not listen. If she was born a woman, it's technically fair game, and that's that. But if she was not born a woman, that's just beating up.
She wasn't born a woman.
Yeah.
She wasn't born a woman. No. She wasn't born a woman. And look, you don't have to be a doctor. You just have to have common sense. And the IOC knew what they were doing, but the International Olympic Committee, a little bit more woke than the IOC, and says, well, they felt like it was unjust because they didn't give her due process. Well, that's great. That's fine and dandy until you have to take his punches in the ring as a girl, and then due process doesn't matter to you. It's a joke, and I'm happy it's happening because it shows the International Olympic Committee is for what they are. And I mean, this is virtue signaling. And it could get somebody hurt.
Wait, yeah. But I have a question. Did they not ban male swimmers from competing like that? The Olympics did that. So they were totally fine with getting rid of.
I don't know that any of the males. I don't. That's a good question. I don't know that any male swimmers qualified for the Olympic Games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I also think they made it impossible. Like I think they made sure that couldn't happen. But they didn't even think, hey, maybe a combat sport might be the place to start. I know women were losing their records in swimming, and that sucks.
Well, remember, though, swimming is a marquee event. Swimming is a marquee event. Gymnastics is a marquee event. Track and field, which is why, look, I've watched some of this. I'm sorry. I'm glad people like to ride a bicycle. But I'm sorry, you flipping a bicycle on it, and flipping off does not make an Olympic sport to me. I don't get that.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about bike racing? Or are you talking about
where they go out and they flip the bikes and it's the
whoa! Don't hate on essentially the X Games, all right, Doug? It's cool and it's for the people. So are you saying skateboarding doesn't belong in the Olympics either? Oh, okay, cool. So we're done with the podcast then for the day. You're going to take away the cool stuff? But wait, speaking of cool, let's talk about, and I'm going to try to get his name correctly.
We went to 3-on-3 basketball now. I mean, come on.
Okay, now you know what? No, we're not even going to where I was going to go. Doug, you brought this up. I'm so mad. You guys have all played pickup basketball in your lifetime?
Yeah, so we made it an Olympic sport.
They don't check the ball.
No.
After they score. Now, I know that this is an Olympic sport and they got to find a way to make it. Check the ball. The idea that you can just grab the rebound and toss it out for an open three is insanity to me. I would lose. I just played pickup last night. I almost snapped my ankle trying to block some kid. He was young.
I think the rules are you don't need to check, but the ball has to make it outside of the 3-point line. That's it. That's the only rule.
You could just toss it. You could get in the paint, get the ball, and toss it for that. He's so stupid. I hate it. And we're losing. We're losing
we're not playing well at all.
We got Jimmer Fredette out there just launching nonsense. We have no size. You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to get upset about something because we're going to win the gold in the regular basketball, and it's fine. But we should be winning 3-on-3 with our eyes closed.
Yeah. All right, get to Clark Kent. Let's get to one of your favorite stories.
Oh, you mean the kid that just showed up, half asleep, took his glasses off, gets us our first pommel horse medal in 15 years? Yeah. No, that kid's a star. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I don't know if anybody else does.
Nadrozic. Steven Nadrozic.
Yeah. The kid is, first of all the kids with glasses out there, that's your man now. That's your guy. Okay?
Yep.
Because I know that was a thing growing up where people were like, Horace Grant, I wear those because Horace Grant wears them. He is America's Horace Grant. Though Horace Grant's America, but you know what I mean. This kid is so cool.
Well, the question I have is how did I don't understand gymnastics, okay? I understand they have a team competition. Then they have the individual all-around that they had last night. Simone Biles won yesterday in the women, where they go, each of them get the high score on each of the things. Then you have the team. But is there also a time in which they have just a gold medal for, and this is what I didn't understand about him winning the pommel horse, where they have an individual like the best floor exercise, the best bar. So when does that take place?
Sunday.
Oh, so that's still coming.
That's still coming. So here, but here's the irony of it all, Doug. He didn't win the pommel horse. That was in the team competition. And unlike women's gymnastics, where there are 4 apparatus, in men's gymnastics, there are 6 apparatus. So men compete on 6 apparatus, women compete on 4. And he's a specialist. It's not all that unusual, right? I mean, it's, and he is a pommel horse specialist. That's the only apparatus he does. And so not only, so he sat along that wall in Zen mode.
Oh, so cool.
For Zen mode, for the first 10 hours of competition. And not only did he not get to perform until the last apparatus, he was the last guy from the last country to perform on the pommel horse.
He's literally the coolest man on the planet.
Slept in for 8 hours and shown up and been like, all right, I still got another 2 hours to wait.
It was his score that pushed us over. So is my understanding, it was his score that pushed us over to get the silver.
It was his score that pushed the American team over to get the bronze medal, which is the first medal they've gotten in a long time.
Yeah, he literally he was like a what is that when they get like people out of retirement and he's like, I'm done, man, I don't do this anymore. And then finally they bring him on, he shows up, hits his mark, and then just bops. Now, it would have been a lot cooler if he just walked away instead of being carried by his teammates, but still, first of all, this is the thing about the Olympics though, right? We get so hyped about our own people that we know nothing about. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're like, no, that's our guy forever. He's a god. I want to see him on Subway commercials with Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
Simone Biles is the same way, right? She just literally shows up, dominates, and then leaves.
Oh, yeah.
That's all she does. That's literally all she does.
And now her husband can go back and help. Speaking of which, we get us a good transition here. Her husband can go back and help Chicago in their defense, which I watched. I had a speaking engagement last night, so I came back and Cameron and I watched only like the first quarter of the ball game. Chicago's defense, unless all of their first teamers were over there having mimosas, they're going to have a hard time this year.
No, they played no one. I think they made it very clear they weren't playing anybody. But Cam Akers hit a spin move on them, and I was like, Cam Akers has been broken for like a year and a half now. You can't let Cam Akers kill you like that.
No, Chip, though. I'm getting ready to get him excited here because you got to help me on this one. I sent our guy.
You're a monster. I just want to let you know that.
JJ McCarthy is tearing it up in training camp. 18 TDs, three picks. What a pick.
Here's the issue, and I want to get this out of the way now. I am team Sam Darnold until next season. All right? We are not putting this kid in. I am not going to allow him to turn into a Sam Darnold. Or what is that? What are you holding up right now? Are you saying week 3?
Week 4.
First of all, the bye week's week 6. All right, so that's what's happening if it's happening.
I think it'd be. Hey, at this rate, I think it's week 2, baby.
So Doug sent me the video, and then of course I went down a rabbit hole of JJ McCarthy highlights. And honestly, I was watching that one throw to the corner. I was so mad. I was like, "This is the same throw you see when everyone gets excited and he throws like an off-foot 70-yard thing in shorts." I don't care. But this made me I felt that. I felt that feeling. I felt every Jets fan. I felt every Steelers fan. I felt them all. All the guys they get excited about. I can't do it. I mentally am not prepared for this.
Well, speaking of getting excited, did you, Chip, did you see the Marietta native Justin Fields got leveled at practice this week and they started a brouhaha? I mean, Russell Wilson's already impressive there.
Yeah, man, that was something else, wasn't it? I mean, look, it is. This Pittsburgh Steelers thing is going to be fun to see play itself out.
Oh! Speaking of, we've seen Simone Biles trash talking. We've seen that because the other girl had dissed him and all that and shit. But speaking of trash talking, did y'all catch the interview? The former Chicago, his name just left me. Is a defense player who was talking about Caleb Williams telling them to clean the locker room. And did you see this interview?
No, I didn't.
What are we talking about here?
This Caleb interview is an interview, and I have to go back and find it now. But it was he was criticizing Caleb, and he was a rookie, basically a rookie, saying y'all need to clean the locker room. And this guy on the interview, from what I saw, went off on him, and basically said, "You're a rookie.
Was it Amani Toomer?
Yep, that's it, Monty Toomer. I mean, just went off on him.
Good. You know what? Good. All right. Now, you know that I want Caleb Williams to succeed. I wish it was on another team, but it's only to prove you wrong, Doug. However, I don't think rookies should be allowed to do anything. I know, I really do believe, yes, there are rookies that have come in at a time and done amazing things and blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I think all rookies, until they prove it on the field, should be subject to getting donuts, paying the check, all that nonsense. I want all of it because they're going to be billionaires. Like, I want all that because that's the part. Look, I don't think the hazing stuff was cool. I know some of that stuff got out of hand over the days, and we all had to, baseball specifically was one of those ones where everyone was getting upset at nothing. But Caleb Williams has literally never done anything on an NFL football field. So whatever he says does not go unless it's on the field specifically, and he says, go run an out route. Outside of that, Caleb Williams is getting donuts.
Yep, but it was pretty wild. But it just sort of put it back into perspective. The part C.J. Stroud sitting over there, last year, best rookie season ever. I mean, you're looking at until J.J. McCarthy takes the field. So hey,
of course, I mean, but he won't take the field as a rookie, and we better not see him on the field as a rookie. And Chip, if he comes in week 4, I'm going to lose it. Did you guys see the Vikings schedule?
By week 4. That's the over-under. He could come in week 2 or 3, like Doug said. Okay.
Have you seen our schedule?
No.
Yeah, we start off in New York, so that's fine. We got the Giants, whatever. But let me rattle off this nightmare scenario for the Vikings where they are setting
and JJ on week 2.
No, there's no way they're going to play in week 2. Hear me out. Listen, boys. Listen. We got to play in a row. San Francisco, week 2. The Texans, the Packers, the Jets, the Lions, the Rams, and the Colts. No, thank you. We're going to get killed.
0-2 come in against the Texans.
0-6, probably.
Then it will definitely be week 4.
I'm so done with this. You guys think this is funny, but this is my mental health we're talking about.
But wait, let's turn our attention to our beloved Falcons down here. And Kirk Cousins shows up in first day of practice in an Atlanta Hawks jersey, which, okay, whatever.
Very cool.
Well, if he had a Braves jersey or a now if he'd have really went throwback and put a Flames jersey on, Chip, I might have been there. He
doesn't think that hard. He probably bought it at Kohl's. It's not that big a deal.
My dress. But interestingly enough, have you been hearing sort of a little bit of the spliced hype about Penix being on fire in training camp down here, Chip? Yeah, believe me, if it hadn't crossed my social media wire, I'd have never heard anything about it either. Hey, speaking of another of cold-blooded, J.J. McCarthy type killers, the 10-meter air gun competition, Turkey legit sends a cold-blooded killer to the.
This man, let's call him by his name. I believe it's hold on. I can do this. We're going to find his name. Yusuf Dikic or Dikic.
Run his name through Interpol. They may be a hit.
Oh yeah, you guys watched? Did any of you watch The Sopranos?
I watched a little bit of it. I've never watched.
There's an episode where they have to kill a guy and he's like Russian or whatever, and they call him an interior decorator because that's what he's an interior decorator. He goes in, he kills everybody, and takes everybody out.
Well, the old mob
that's
saying
what this man is.
Yeah, the old mob saying is I paint houses.
That's right. This man doesn't just paint houses. This man has painted the entire country of Turkey.
Chip, I mean, for us older guys, he walks in and look, I've now began to accept that my kids are 25, to 32, and I begin to more accept that I am the old dad. Okay, I get it. I still have my time, but I accept that fact a little bit. And I can't tell you how many times sitting there watching him with his hand in his pocket, the gun out in front, no eye closed, and then you start seeing these millennials and Z's with patches over their eyes, the aiming strips and everything else. And he just walks out there and wins a silver medal, him and his partner.
Look, no goggles, no earmuffs. He's just a guy in the crowd who nobody really looks at, who certainly the Secret Service would miss at any Trump rally.
Exactly right.
They wouldn't even look at this guy, right? Then all of a sudden, guy's eating a Milky Way, and he pulls up his hand and he cold executes 3 or 4 people. That's who this guy is. I mean, he's that type of guy.
To me, he's a bigger hero than our pommel horse guy.
Honest, if you're in Turkey, he definitely is.
I mean,
they don't have a lot. This guy, there's a line in a Biggie Smalls song that says, "Cool as a fan with a gat in hand." That is that's what this man represents.
Well,
what's really cool is I'm sorry, go ahead, Chip.
Oh, no, I was going to say, if the athletes were to vote on which athlete in this Olympic Games is most likely to be included in the next Russian prisoner swap, he's at the top of the
list. What's really funny is I'm watching him. My friend, we were all talking about it. The group chat was going crazy about this because we just couldn't get over it. But also now there's photos of him with his cat. And it's just like a really cute. And someone says, if anything happens to that cat,
the world is in trouble.
We're going to get 3 or 4 movies out of it.
The world is in trouble.
Hey, look, let's keep close eyes on that shooter. Make sure he gets nowhere near J.D. Vance.
Yeah, anywhere near a rally.
Not with his cat.
You touch the cat, you're in trouble.
Can I mention something real quick about before we move on for the Olympics? I don't know how much time we have left, but you guys have noted that I've been watching the basketball like crazy, obviously. And the South Sudan team is a really cool story. They just became independent. They got their own. It's a really great story. But every time they mention them, they mention Luol Deng, who's a former NBA player, and he's put all his money into this team, right? And they mention it almost every time. And when they interview people talking about it, they go, the best way we could pay Luol Deng back is to put our best effort out there. And I can't imagine he's at home like, no, you can pay me back, like real money. I can't stop. It's been like, I've been obsessing over it. Like he's probably sitting there like, no, I don't care about your effort. Go win gold and give me my money back.
Yeah, get a movie deal out of this that I can actually make money on. There
First of all, the NBA is going to step up and put money in. There's no way they can't. They love taking the rest of the country as their own.
The funny thing, Lisa and I, we've gone to Jamaica several times and was just there recently, and it was but the discussion of the Olympics, always comes around because they have some of the best runners in the world. Yeah. And they actually have if you're driving around the provinces, well, this is where Usain Bolt's from. This is where, it's really a big deal. Cool. And of course, you have the Jamaican bobsled team in Mystic Mountain and all this down there. And it was sort of funny because they all know about it, and it's a real thing to them but the bobsled team trains in Canada.
But they don't have a choice.
They don't have any place else to do it. So
it's never seen snow.
All right. Coming up out of the let's football wise, let's get a quick recap where we at football, and then we got to get Hall of Fame game was last week. Next games are next week or the next first preseason?
No, I think we start next week.
Next week, okay. And there's 3 or 4 preseason?
Yeah, I'll look up the schedule, but
I think it's they get the extra one. The two last night got the extra ones, and so we got that coming. The 24th is the 0 week for college football. We're
correct.
20 days now, right at it. When does Auburn play first? Chip, week 0 or week 1?
Week 1, we play the very difficult and we got to be prepared for. I was trying to figure out what their mascot was, and I just completely blanked. But Alabama A&M, I believe, is who we start with.
Better watch out for that one.
Well, Georgia, we got it. You remember we lost in Mexico State last year, so we do.
Yeah, well, Georgia doesn't. Georgia goes. They'll be in Atlanta again, but they're playing Clemson. They open the year.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be another good. They did that a couple of years ago when they first won.
Speaking of Georgia, Doug, did you see that Florida took a shot at you guys? Their head coach. Did you see that?
No.
Normally,
he said something about. He didn't do it directly because everybody is super shady instead of saying names, but he basically went on the podium and said, "I believe that good people make good football players," referring to your 785 DUIs. It was a clear, like the way it was put up, it was a clear shot at Kirby and your squad. So. Well, I don't know when you guys play, but I hope it's a massacre.
Yeah, well, I would say this, not to defend Kirby Smart in Georgia because I'm not a fan, but clearly if they've won 2 national championships over the last 3 years, good people do not make good football. Do not make good football players. It's the guys with the heavy feet and that get in a lot of trouble because it seemed to work out for Kirby and Georgia the last.
Yeah, it's worked out. Although we did just have to get rid of one. Rah Thomas is now.
Rah. Yeah, but finally, Rah. I mean, it's like, what do you got to do to get kicked off the team?
Rah Thomas. Yeah,
that's such a cool name. Why does he have to be such a? This is the problem, and I agree with Nick Saban when he says we got to rehabilitate these kids or take them in. Don't just let them do stupid stuff. Yeah. And Kirby's taking that to heart, obviously, but like at some point, yes, guys have to be disciplined.
It's a battery and child cruelty issue. So,
you can't. There's certain things you can't.
Hey, one last thing before we go, and I'll start. In fact, we'll do our last round here, and I'm gonna start the last round on things that I find interesting. Okay, this is what it. So the last round, James getting ready to get on the road, and Chip's getting ready to go play golf, and I've still got to work. So thank you both. The things I find interesting for mine, I'll start it and we'll go to Chip and then Road Warrior James. What I find interesting is the new concept, whether you like the new 12 man playoff system or not. I think it is going to reflect, and I'm actually coming around to this, I think it's going to reflect in better games, scheduling, especially in the SEC when we do go to that 9th game eventually in the SEC competition. Because I will say this, and Chip mentioned y'all starting at Alabama Tech or Alabama A&M, whoever y'all starting with at Auburn. But here's Georgia's September schedule. Okay, this is September schedule. They start with Clemson, Tennessee Tech, and then are on the road. 3 of the 4 are on the road. Well, technically Atlanta's not on the road, but it is on the road. It's not at Sanford. And then the last 2 are Kentucky and Alabama. That's our September schedule.
Good.
And then we go Auburn. We play Alabama, Auburn back to back. Mississippi State, Texas, Florida. That's just to November 2nd.
Sounds like you're complaining, Doug.
No,
you guys have multiple championships.
I think by the time we're 8-0 coming out of that, there's no way we get kicked out of the 12-man playoff.
Confident. Well, you weren't going to get kicked out anyway. The 12 team is guaranteed Georgia. You guys have to. All your team has to get a DUI for you not to get.
Yeah, we'll be at 12-1, and we missed the 13th round, on the playoff side, as it gets. But I will say this, Gators, and Chan Gailey gets back on here, we'll discuss this. I don't think we'll have to worry about that one. So, as we go.
I think I would agree with Doug that Georgia's schedule this year is brutal.
Yeah.
But the scheduling gods cometh, and the scheduling gods giveth, and they taketh away. And last year, Georgia's schedule was not that difficult. So
but remember last year, we were supposed to start with Oklahoma last year, and the SEC made us take it off.
That's right. No, you're right. I 110% right. There were a lot of different variables that made that schedule weak. Some of them were not Georgia's fault. Right. It just turned out to be a weak schedule.
It did.
How do you force someone to take a team off your schedule?
Because Oklahoma coming in, it was going to mess up the home and home stuff.
These guys are weak. Anyway.
The SEC did it. The SEC did that. That was not a Georgia thing. That was an SEC thing. So we had to bring in another thing. All right. Something strikes you, Chip.
Oh, man. I'm going to say something that I think is going to be very unpopular, but I think over time it's going to hold. I think I like this new kickoff thing in the NFL. I think it's going to be good. I mean, the lowest number of kickoffs last year were returned in NFL history. I think they needed to shake it up, do something. Yeah, it's a little goofy when kicker looks like he's kicking a field goal and all the players are up. But I think, I think once we watch a few games, it's going to be more entertaining. It's going to make the game experience better. And so I have probably a very unpopular opinion right now, but I think by the time we get to the middle of the season, more folks are going to realize that this new kickoff rule is going to be better for football and not worse.
I don't necessarily disagree with you on that, Chip, except the interesting thing last night, the first 3 kickoffs, they started on about the 25-yard line.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was the most amazing thing.
Yeah, but you know what? You had players cracking skulls, and that's a lot better than a guy taking a knee in the end zone.
Fully predict there'll be at least one touchdown, at least one kickoff return for a touchdown each week in the first few weeks of this NFL season. I think that'd be a good prop bet.
That would be awesome. Chip, that was going to be my final note because I was going to say the opposite is because I watched that. My fear was like, imagine they put all this effort into this rule, no onside kick to the 4th, blah, 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 and it pans out terribly. I'm rooting for it because we all want another Devin Hester. We just do.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah.
But if I have one final thing to say, fantasy football season's upon us, boys. And I got our team together. Now, I don't know if we can legally use this name, but I am making our group's league name Chan Gailey's favorite podcast. And and I hope we can get some
pretty
cool,
safe.
Listen, I think we should get some people that have been on this show on it. We have a couple people, a couple of my friends, your family, whatever. But I just want to say something as a commissioner of a league, and I'm sure many of you have been a part of this. With 1 week to go before you draft and all this stuff, please don't ask for changes. The world's hard enough as it is. We all have busy lives. Can you just be cool with what we've done over the past year? You want to raise the money on it, sure. Other than that, I don't care if you want, let's go 2 tight ends or let's add a third way. Shut the hell up and just let's play some fantasy football. This is a shot at certain people that I am friends with that I love dearly, but I hope to God they back out and let me pick new people for my team, for my league, because I can't do it.
Chip, can you believe it? James was not really in Montana, but he was in New York attending the Roger Goodell School of Commissionership here. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, James.
Exactly right.
I don't. Okay, first of all, let's relax. I don't take it that seriously at my commissioner duties, all right? I do it in the last 2 weeks. But the point is that I just don't want people complaining. We've been doing this for years, guys. But our league, Chan Gailey's favorite podcast, we got to get some good people on here. We have a couple weeks. If you have family members that want to be part of it, let's do it.
Yeah, we got to rock and roll now.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that is it. It is Chan Gailey's favorite podcast, and we're glad to be that as we go forward here. But a lot of them on James Ship, Friday's Finest in the books. We'll see you again next week. God bless you. See you.
Rock and roll.